Welcome to Suburban Warrior, the podcast that will impact, inspire, and empower you to transform your mindset and become the badass warrior that you are. I'm your host and fellow warrior, Crissy Pfeiffer, former clinician and corporate marketing exec turned multi-passionate entrepreneur, performance and life coach, and mom to 4 not-so-little warriors. Each week, I will bring you honest conversations with inspiring guests to share their stories of resilience, optimism, success, and simple yet effective strategies so that you transform your thoughts and change your behavior to get the results you want in your life. You will be empowered to take action, warrior up, and believe in you. Let's do this. What's up, warriors? Welcome back to another episode of the Suburban Warrior Podcast. I'm your host, Crissy Pfeiffer, and I am back this week with an amazing suburban warrior here to share her story and her expertise. And guys, this is going to be a really amazing episode because we are going to get into what I think is some really deep, meaningful conversations, really talking about probably the thoughts that we all have going on in our head each and every day, sometimes asking those really deep questions that we think about, but we don't really talk about because maybe sometimes we just don't know where to find the answers. So I'm really excited to invite my guest on today. Her name is Daniela, and she helps renowned leaders of the business and spiritual world move into the permanent state of ease and joy by transcending from the conditioned human to the consciousness of the true self. They shift into effortlessly creating by being instead of creating by doing. About 1% of the world's population functions primarily at this level of consciousness. Daniela sees through the illusion of rigid physical reality and ridicule of the human conditioning. She was naturally led to a journey of experiencing the self, which the mind, body, and all physical reality arise from. She has been creating massive physical, mental, and emotional shifts for herself and her clients. Welcome to the podcast, Daniela.
Thank you so much for having me, Crissy. I'm really happy to be here.
Well, I am really thrilled to have you on because I am so interested in this topic. I feel like I've been going through sort of a journey myself over probably the last 10 years of my life of just finding a deeper sense of self and understanding the human condition and deepening that spiritual side. So I'm really excited to talk to you about it today. So first, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'll be happy to. So I would say, a normal, stressed and anxious and working mom and worried.
Can
Human,
relate.
not only mom and wife, but human for majority of my life. And corporate work, household, kids, worrying about finances, constantly stressing about everything, I would say. And until the point where I was pregnant with my third child, and I almost died because my immune system, my body was literally shutting down from anxiety and from worry, and it was really depleted.
Wow.
And from working hard and from burnout. So that was kind of like a first moment when I told myself that there is no way that this is why we are here. There is no way that we came here onto the earth to just do this, to work and hustle and stress and worry. And here and there, look forward to a weekend and vacation. Like life as I've known it literally stopped making sense to me, which threw me on a spiritual journey. Probably many people and women can relate. So now I was on my spiritual journey, and I was digging in my belief and healing my childhood wounds and loving myself, clearing my chakras, meditating, doing affirmations, journaling. And I would have stayed on that journey, but things started happening to me, which were beyond my control. So one day I was resting over on bed after work, and suddenly I realized that I'm on a ceiling. and I was looking down at my body that was laying on a bed.
Wow.
Then after about a year, I would wake up for about 2 weeks every morning as a pure consciousness. So not having a body, not knowing I am a body, not knowing I am the mind, not knowing who I am. I would just be awareness. I would just be aware of my surrounding, of everything. And the mind was literally quiet. There was no thoughts and there was no emotions. And in a split second, after a brief moment, the mind would turn on its old circuits. And my personal identity, my memories, my experiences came back in literally the split second. And I remembered, oh, I'm Daniela. This is my house. I'm a coach. And all memories. This would happen literally in a period of 2 weeks. And that made me realize, like, this is who we are. Or better yet, oh, this is who we are not. We are not the conditioned program person, the personality. Then one day, it was during the summer, we were on a vacation. I was swimming in a lake here in Canada, and I love swimming. And I went a little bit too far. It was a deep lake, and I kind of noticed that I'm getting out of breath and getting tired. And then I realized that I am not the one who was swimming. Suddenly, I was aware of the body making strokes and emerging, and my body kind of taking a breath every time I would emerge on the surface of the water. But it was a complete effortless activity. I was not doing it. I was the one who was aware what is going on. I was aware of the body movements, but I was the complete effortless being, I would say. So after that experience, I was more pulled into stillness. I would really just be in the state of awareness. And over time, the mind dropped and my mind became still. I perceived that each moment is unfolding for us. We do not control anything. And I'm also aware of my thoughts, my emotions, what's going on around me. And kind of like I'm seeing a deeper things, not what just the mind, the illusion,
right?
The mind, the illusion that creates. So that's what I do now with my clients, and that's why I share my message, because when the mind is active, it creates the illusion that we do actually something and that we control something, but everything is happening on its own, just like the moon and the sun, just like our digestive system, just like a growing baby in the mother's womb. Like, it's happening on its own, but the mind creates an illusion that there is an effort and then there is a result. So there is a cause and effect. It's not. The life unfolds for us in any moment, for us to be aware, to be conscious. When we are conscious, we do not create those experiences that we need to be conscious. When we are unconscious, which means we think we are the person who is doing, we create experiences that ask us to be conscious, which means negative experiences, relationship problems, money not coming in, clients saying no, kids not behaving. But we, as a conditioned human, we think that we need to fix it instead of just being conscious of the self, having the awareness, and literally shifting into a different reality, different experience. Because we do not control anything. The only thing we can control is whether we are conscious at the moment or not.
Okay, so this is such a huge concept, I think, for anyone to grasp, right? So I want to go back and talk about like the experience that you were saying about, let's talk about the swimming experience, because I think that, the majority of people who are looking to sort of find their deeper self or, calm their mind, right? Or meditate or this or that, or maybe go to yoga and then they lay in Shavasana for 5 minutes and they try to get to that clear mind, right? But I think what you're talking about is is very different. And so I want to understand for you, when you're swimming and you were swimming out into that lake and you all of a sudden realized that you weren't the one really in control of your body or doing the strokes. Like, what did that feel like for you when you in that realization, in that moment? Like, did you question like what just happened? Like, did you remember the last 30 seconds of swimming? Did you, can you give us a little bit of a deeper understanding of what that felt like for you?
Well, first of all, there is no feeling, because awareness of feelings or emotions or thoughts are attached to the mind. There is no feeling. There is just perception. It's just awareness.
Okay.
When the mind becomes active, so I switched to the human. Oh yeah, you remember. But I realized it was very peaceful, and I realized that I had that experience. I received that experience to be aware of what is really truth. So any experience we have, this is a very good question in terms of when people really are on a spiritual path and they meditate, and now they have this high state, for example. It's the mind. And now people do anything to get to their state. Now I meditate for 5 hours. Now I meditate for 10. Oh, I go to Tibet. Actually, I'm going to do this mushroom stuff to get me to that state. That's the mind. Because for the mind, there is something out there that needs to be done. So what do? Maybe I need to do 3-hour guided meditation. I need to do this asana and stay there for 5 hours. No, you don't. Right? You are without doing anything. As long as you need to do something, you're in the mind. So that's why there is no difference between a spiritual person who does all these things.
I see.
And the mind tricks them into believing that there is an enlightenment at the end of the end when you do all that stuff. And a business person who is obsessed with money and just revenue is the same stuff. The mind projects something out there. But meanwhile, we are only here and now. There is nothing out there. So it's not really getting anywhere. It's dropping the mind. It's a different perception. It's dropping the mind. And then when the mind becomes completely still, you have a different perception of like that. No, I don't need to do anything. I am being. So does it take practice? Yeah, but a different practice than the journaling and the spiritual kind of, it is a trick that the mind creates, and it's never ending. That's why I do work with spiritual leaders and business leaders, because as I said, also spiritual people are kind of like in that illusion, are lost in the illusion that there is something out there, and it can be very confusing.
So it's really not even about allowing, because even when you shift from like, a perception of just trying to allow what is going to happen, or that sort of thing, it's not that, again, is sort of letting the mind take over. So what you're saying, it's just being.
Being is, if you need to do something to allow, that's the mind. Being is literally right now. You can be right now, and you can be in the state of mind, and you can be there in a permanent state. Being doesn't mean not doing anything. Being is, if I have thoughts, I am aware of them, but I don't go there. If I have emotions, which is the mind, people think the emotions are theirs. They're not yours. It's a result of the mind. It's a result of the illusion. So if I have emotions, I am aware of those, but I'm this quiet being. I'm this quiet state, just being aware of it. So it's very hard logically to grasp. That's why I say you need to be in order for the mind to quiet, for the mind to drop. So really, you just need to be observant. Because people think that, well, the separation is like, I am this body and I need to do something. But how I usually explain is the analogy of the dream, that when you dream, there are other characters in the dream, and there is also you. And the you who is in the dream has thoughts, has emotions. Someone is chasing you, or you have a project you are working on, and a deadline, and now you stress about it. You don't know that your drink is real until the moment you wake up. And then where do you go? No matter how pressing the dream was, where do you go to fix it? Where is that world? So that is very simplistic explanation of our human conditioning and life. When we think we are the person who does something, that's the dream. When you wake up, when the mind becomes still, there is nothing to do. You understand that the life is unfolding and you just observe. So it's like kind of lucid dreaming. I know I'm dreaming, I'm still participating, but I do control nothing. Because if I think it's only illusion that I can control something.
Okay. So for the listeners out there that are, we talked a lot about, you also felt like fear, control, anxiety, in life. Like for people that are listening and thinking like, okay, well, I get up and I'm stressed about work, and then I get my kids ready for school and I'm stressed about their day. And then I got to pick them up and I'm stressed because I'm driving them to sports and I'm worried about, is this right? Is that right? Am I being a good mom? Am I being a good parent? All of these things that come into our consciousness, into our lives throughout the day. So for those that are listening that have this sort of underlying fear that's simmering throughout their day, or need for control, or to control the environment, to make sure everything's right, to make sure, the family's taken care of, they might be listening and thinking like, okay, so how do I just be? How do I get to that level of consciousness? Like it's practice, but if the mind is part of the journaling and the meditation and that sort of thing, how do I get to that state of consciousness?
So the first thing is to realize that everything that is happening in your life is happening for a reason. You don't control anything. You didn't create your life. You have a theme of life. So we are either, wherever we are born, our environment, religion, right? So that's your theme of life. And everything what is in your life is asking you to be conscious. So if there are things falling apart, kids not behaving, a lot of stress, your body is actually the first thing you can start with, because your body is part of the dream, remember? Is asking you to be conscious. So if you're stressed, be aware or be conscious that you are stressed. Be aware that you are stressed. That's it. The moment you are aware that you are stressed, you are not in the mind. You are aware. Now you're in the moment and you are aware, right? So let's say there is a big project, or you are late to pick up your kids. Be aware that you worry that you are late to pick up your kids. That moment, you're peaceful because you now observe, you're aware of the mind giving you those worrying thoughts, and you're aware of the body having certain feelings. But you are not the body and not the thoughts. You are just the one who observes it.
I see. So it's really about, in the awareness, understanding that you're recognizing that how you're thinking, how you're feeling, how your mind, your emotions are creating your behavior, right? And then understanding that the perception of it, the awareness of it. And then it shifts from really feeling it and thinking, I am this, I am stressed, I am worried, to just the perception of the feeling that is happening.
Yes.
The awareness.
The awareness is all that is there. Everything else is illusion. And the awareness is magic. That is what shifts your perception from the human conditioning, from the worrying. You don't need, I would just tweak a little bit what you said. It's not about understanding how the thoughts are being created. It's not about understanding anything. The mind wants to understand. You're in the illusion, in the mind. It's about awareness. You are just aware. It's very simple. You are just aware that you are having certain thoughts right now in this moment, that you worry about the kids being picked up late or about the client saying no. And you have these feelings and you are just aware of it. And the next question is, so what do I do with it? Nothing. Because the mind
that's the question.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part, because nobody wants to say nothing.
I know.
We all want to
people are like, hold on, but I need to control it. Yeah, that's the mind giving you the illusion that you control something. That's why, going back to the example of the swimming that you so resonated with, is that's how I realized I control nothing. I think I control my body movements. I don't. So you control nothing. So let's say you are really stressed and really anxious. Something happens and you, to the point you cry, maybe. Be aware of the emotions. Do not control them. You do not feel them. You don't even need to feel them and making them real. No, just simply be aware that you are sad. Simply be aware that you cry. Simply be aware that you worry about your future. Simply, or the same applies on the other scale. If something happy is happening and joyous, you get an amazing client, for example, be aware that you're happy. What do I do with nothing? There is nothing to do, and there hasn't been. The cause and effect doesn't exist. It is an illusion, but until your perception shifts, you don't know that is an illusion, because the mind creates it. It's just like the dream. You need to wake up to realize, oh, it was a dream and I was just worrying.
Wow, that's pretty significant and deep. Another thing that I want to talk about is, you say that, because I read this and I thought, wow, that is pretty crazy. But you say that 90% of actions that one takes are counterproductive to living a rich and fulfilled life, which is really kind of, that statement just struck me, because when I read that, I'm thinking 90% of the actions that we take are counterproductive to us living a rich and fulfilled life. Like, that's pretty crazy to think about, that we're all out there, like you said, hustling and doing all the things and working so hard and, trying to really do all these things so that we have this rich and fulfilled life. And when I read that, I was thinking, like, wow, is that really true? Like 90% of what we're doing is counterproductive to us feeling that. Sometimes when you really think about what we are doing on a daily basis, like, are some like I like what you said in the beginning, like when you really stop to think about your life, and this is where it gets really deep. Like, were we put on this earth to grind, to hustle, to stress our kids out, right? We have a mental health crisis in this country right now, not only for adults, but really for our kids as well. They are the most stressed out generation that we're raising, because we're just putting so much pressure on them to do this, do that, succeed, and when you really stop and think about it, like, is this why we were put on this earth? So that statement really struck me, because what are we doing? What is the purpose of all of it?
Oh, that's a very good question. So to answer that, it's very simple.
We don't know. No, I'm just kidding.
The purpose of being here is to become conscious. And how do you do it? Well, through certain theme, through certain experiences, through disappointments, through challenges. But those challenges are not there to punish you. Those challenges are there for you to realize that you have no control over the challenges. The only choice you have is, am I conscious or not? And, what you mentioned about the crisis and humanity is, but think about, like, if you step back, and even if we use the mind, which is very logical, even if we use the logic, like, think about it. So we are born, right? And then, well, let's go before we are born. We are in the mother's belly and everything works. The heart develops, the brain develops, the lungs develops, everything, there is this human being born, everything is done, right? Then also, in addition, the moon goes out every night and the sun goes out every night. And Jupiter never crashes into Venus. Everything is being done by itself. Even the little baby in the mother's belly, and then it's born, and then it's happy, and then it's playing. And then it's being conditioned by adults. So when the person hits around like 20 or 30, they're pretty well programmed about 20, 25, like, yep, and now I'm going to take over. And now I'm not only controlling my life, now I need to control, I need to survive. I need to make sure I make money. I need to make sure that I will do something to get the money. I need to do an effort. We go even one step further. When I get sick, I have a cancer or something, I need to heal myself. I need to do something to make it. Now I do crazy about the healthy food or keto diet or whatever. See, no, there is nothing you need to do. When you get out of the conditioning, when it's the mind that creates all that. When we become conscious, the mind drops and we are fully conscious. No matter what disease, the body goes into balance. There is nothing. We actually, with the mind, create and recreate and reinforce the disease.
Yeah.
Right? Because everything in your life is there for you to be conscious. It's calling you to be conscious. If you're not conscious because you think you need to heal your body, well, that's why you get more negative experiences. It's the same stuff. So now we work hard. Do we create certain lifestyle and money? Of course. My clients are able to generate a lot of revenue and have amazing life and say to me, Daniela, I have everything what I've ever dreamed of, but I am not happy. Yeah. There's constant this fear. There's constant, what if it will go away? What I need to do next? And I'm like, yeah, because it doesn't matter whether you don't have something or not. If you have the mind active, you are miserable. So yes, you can create fulfilled and rich life, but that's not the point. The point is I'm peaceful. You're peaceful every moment because you know you don't do nothing. You don't need to do anything to be fulfilled, to be taken care of. The life will and is taking care of you. Even if you are stressed, the life is taking care of you. How? Well, so you are conscious of you being stressed. Everything is happening for you, both negative and positive.
Yeah.
So this is why this is to go to the statement I said that 95% of the actions are productive because you are in the mind and hence you are not conscious and hence you are shifting you're shifting into a reality, you're shifting into experience that asks you to be conscious. Life is not fixed. We think that we are born here and it's a fixed environment. No, it's fluid. It's flexible. When you're not conscious, you create experiences that ask you to be conscious. Disease, worry, anxiety, things not working out. When you're conscious, when you're aware in every moment, you shift the next moment, you shift into a reality that doesn't create that kind of lesson anymore. So that's why life gets so easier. And on the top of that, you really feel good. You're peaceful.
Yeah.
Nothing stresses you. And there are no challenges, by the way.
And you also say that fear and challenges, really they exist in our mind, right?
Yeah. If the mind drops, there's no fear and challenges because, but going back to the example of the dream, when you wake up, which means the mind is still, is not active anymore, not projecting the illusion, where is the dream? No matter what kind of nightmare you dreamt, where will you go to fix it? When you are in the state of consciousness and of the mind, there is no fear and challenge. It's impossible. That exists only in a level mind.
So in our dream state, isn't that when we're in our subconscious mind or unconscious mind? Or no? Because I always think of like consciousness being when we're awake, when we're up, when we're, I guess, using the word aware. But in our dream state, I always sort of feel like that's like your subconscious, your unconscious mind, projecting, bringing things to the forefront into your dream. Is that not correct? Or is it just semantics of words?
No, that is a view from a limited active mind. But at the end of the day, there is only one consciousness.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So the same consciousness that creates your waking state creates your sleep state. There is only one consciousness. So
I see. That makes sense. Okay, because it's we are one consciousness, right?
Yeah.
The whole universe.
Yeah,
correct?
there is not only there is also not my consciousness and your consciousness.
Yeah.
There is only So that's why I said the analogy of the dream is very simplistic, because at the end of the day, we too are also part of the dream of a one consciousness. But at the same time, I am creating my dream and you're creating your dream. So that's why the dream analogy is very simplistic and for the mind may be difficult to understand. But the mind creates the separation of you and me. And for example, that we can impact our world.
Yeah.
We cannot. I am dreaming my dream and you are dreaming your dream. And there is no one that can impact your dream. So everything that is happening in your reality, only you can impact. Are you conscious or not?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do. So you don't need to go to marriage counseling. You don't need to change anyone. You don't need to control your kids or your partners or your clients. It's all you. You're either conscious or not. And life unfolds naturally to create experiences for you to be aware.
Okay. I get it. I'm getting it. I'm understanding it better. Let me ask you this. So do you believe that as human beings, we are tapping into our full state of consciousness, or do you think that we are limited? Like, meaning like, are we able to do and be and tap into a deeper state of consciousness than we are? Because, some people will say we're only using a certain percentage of our human brains, and that's why we can't tap into or understand these deeper concepps. Do you believe that or no?
Yeah, we as a humans are very underdeveloped, I would say. Very underdeveloped. And that's because the mind is active. And we have a belief system of logic, that when I use logic, I will get somewhere. When I use logic and, analytical mind, I will create something, a new invention or something. No.
Yeah.
That is actually what's holding us back. If you drop the mind, now there are no limits, because the limits are only on the level of the mind. So yes, we are very limited. But again, we create the limitations to become conscious of the limitations, to become conscious of who we are not. And then we will understand who we are, and we can and we will be limitless. But not only that, we will create amazing experience while we are in this human body.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, Daniela, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I certainly feel enlightened. And, I think what you're saying is amazing and deep, and that it's a lot for our human mind to grasp, which is why I think we all need to sort of understand this a little bit deeper.
Yeah. The mind cannot understand it. So I would not recommend trying to understand it. I would recommend be aware every moment, be aware, and that will drop the mind. The mind becomes still, and you will know. It's not about information. So a different shifting your perception, shifting consciousness. You just know. So what I share, I would use the term common sense for me. It's like, of course it's true, because I perceived it like that. It's not something I read. So you don't need to, the mind that works on logic is about information and trying to understand. When the mind becomes still, you simply know.
You simply know. It's great. Well, thank you for being here, Daniela. Why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Oh, the best way is to go on my website. Okay. It's danielasulek.com. And there is a blog they can read.
Awesome.
And if they are called to, they can reach out to me.
Wonderful. Well, we will make sure we link your website in the show notes so all my listeners can read more about you and read your blog. And thank you so much for being here. It truly was a pleasure. And guys, make sure you tune in next week. I'll have another amazing suburban warrior on here to share her story. Until then, have a great week and we'll talk to you next time.